I'm Dr. Sandra Brown. I'm an ophthalmologist in North Carolina, and I have no financial conflicts of interest. I'd like to talk to you today about Diagnosing Scam Pharma, Part 4A, Playing Whac-A-Mole with Regener-Eyes, LLC. Recommended viewing, Scam Pharma Parts 1, 2, and 3, and FDA drug approval for Biologic eye drops, Parts 1 and 2. This will be a lot funnier with some background. First, what's in a name? There are 3 names and 2 businesses. Regener-Eyes has 2 types of eye drops, Pro and Light. Regener-Eyes LLC is the marketing entity. The manufacturer is an outfit called Regenerative Processing Plant, also LLC. Unless this really matters, I am just going to say Regener-Eyes. And Regener-Eyes has been staying one step ahead of the feds. Their former advertising read, Regener-Eyes is a first-in-class, natural, biologic ophthalmic solution. Well, guess what? Biologic is out and hypotonic is in. And when you see the Whac-A-Mole call out in the upper right-hand corner, you'll know that I'm indicating that this is a change Regener-Eyes is making in relation to specific FDA regulations, which they're evading. Another one step ahead of the feds, another place they've removed the word biologic, is from their homepage. You see a smiling, happy, random, good-looking human and the power of a biologic in the ease of an eye drop. Keep watching that red arrow. Because their cover photo changed. And on Facebook, they conveniently tell us when their cover photo changed, August 17th of this year at 3:10 p.m. We have a different smiling, happy, random, good-looking human who's now smiling about the power of science, not the power of a biologic. I think the power of a biologic was a lot catchier. This is another Whac-A-Mole move, as Regener-Eyes is ducking underground and popping up out of another hole in an effort to stay ahead of the Food and Drug Administration. When I checked in with the Regener-Eyes homepage on September 12th, they'd gone back to the previous smiling, happy person for random reasons, but it was still saying the power of science in the ease of an eye drop. Bye-bye, biologic. They also changed their box. And look, the box has an indication. And those of you who have viewed the other scam farmers know that I brought to your attention and made a lot of fun of the fact that Regener-Eyes was so fearful of the Food and Drug Administration that they wouldn't even put an indication for use, a symptom or a complaint, on the box. They just used to say sterile moisturizing eye drops. That's what it does, not what it treats. Now, both boxes are saying to relieve dryness of the eye. Another Whac-A-Mole move. And Snail says, good thing they have an in-house web designer. And also, don't forget the web changes for the Scientific Advisory Board. More later. Regener-Eyes also has some spiffy new over-the-counter DailyMed listings. I've brought these to your attention before. Remember, there are 2 products, Regener-Eyes Pro and Regener-Eyes Light. If you go to DailyMed, type in Regener-Eyes with a hyphen this time, you'll see that Pro was updated on August 22nd and Light on August 24th. And we'll talk in detail about these updates and what they mean and why they were made. This is the archived drug label for Regener-Eyes Pro. Regener-Eyes Pro's active ingredient was glycerin 0.5%, and it had 2 inactive ingredients, the notorious D-MAPS and normal saline, 0.9% sodium chloride. What was DMAPS? Well, DMAPS was the core of their magic regenerative marketing scheme. DMAPS, along with all these other words that was screenshotted off of their website before they changed it, sounds medical, complicated, and scientific. There are a lot of credibility words, including platform technology, engineered, communication, cytokines, homeostasis, recruitment necessary, and healing process. The new drug label doesn't refer to DMAPS at all. Instead, it has a different inactive ingredient, Tonicity Solution. The active ingredient is still glycerin, and the vehicle is now sterile water. So long, DMAPS. From DMAPS to Tonicity Solution. Why did Regener-Eyes have to make this move? Well, that's because DMAPS contained a couple of naughty words. The big naughty word was protein. And The description of DMAPs use the words allogeneic, biological, chemokines, cytokines, immune, and cells. And these are total no-nos if you're going to pretend to be an over-the-counter drug product. Clever use of a hyphen. For those of you who like to double-check me, the archived DailyMed listings are under Regener-Eyes with no hyphen, and the August 22 updated DailyMed listings are under Regener-Eyes with a hyphen. I'm not sure whether there was anything deliberate about this, but it does make it extremely easy to search for and compare the before and after versions. Now, if you hear this or read this anywhere, Regener-Eyes is approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the answer is no, it is not. It's not, and I'm going to prove it to you. But the simple part of the proof is the fact that over-the-counter products are not approved by the FDA. And if you are an eye care provider who is actually watching this video, and if you heard that Regener-Eyes is approved by the FDA while you're at Vision Expo West, you should know that it's a lie. Over-the-counter drugs are not reviewed by the FDA, not approved by the FDA. They can be marketed without review or approval if compliant with applicable regulations and policies. And the FDA has not evaluated whether Regener-Eyes complies. How do I know that? Because the screenshot below was taken straight off of the updated DailyMed listing. So we have lies, damned lies, and Regener-Eyes, which I think definitely has some zing. And possibly some legal risk to us. But we are willing to go there. What about that over-the-counter compliance? Well, to comply with applicable regulations and policies, you need to have regulation-compliant labeling, which means you have to have an indication for use, a symptom, or a condition. We'll give that a check mark because Regener-Eyes added to relieve dryness of the eye to their box. You have to have at least one active ingredient, and there is an allowed list of active ingredients for over-the-counter dry eye drops. There's also an allowed list of combined active ingredients. They do not let you just play around in your kitchen. You need to have some inactive ingredients, and once again, there is an allowed list for ophthalmic inactive ingredients, not whatever you feel like. And most importantly, from a patient safety perspective, you need to have regulation-compliant packaging for liquid ophthalmic preparations. What this means is you need to have preservative in there, or a single-use snap-top vial, or a multi-dose preservative-free dropper. And Regener-Eyes has, wait for it, none of these. Let's take a look. Well, Regener-Eyes with hyphen does have an allowed active ingredient. It's glycerin 0.5% for pro and 0.4% for light. Okay so far. How about inactive ingredients? For both products, it's the same, formerly normal saline and now sterile water. So we're still okay so far. But as those of you who have listened to my other presentations know, I just love DailyMed. So if you dig around a little bit on DailyMed, you will find the mysterious Tonicity Solution. And this is on the drug label, which the manufacturer writes and the FDA does not review. And there's a screenshot. Inactive ingredients, Tonicity Solution, trademarked, and sterile water. Tonicity Solution is also in another field on the DailyMed listing, which is not tied to an ingredient database. What do I mean by that? I'll explain. If you scroll down on the DailyMed listing, you're going to find another hyperlink, Ingredients and Appearance. And this is where reality lives. To get an over-the-counter DailyMed listing, manufacturers use data entry fields to tell the FDA what's in that bottle, and this is where they do it. And each ingredient has something called a UNI, which stands for a Unique Ingredient Identifier. And just to add another acronym to your life, you get a UNI when you are listed with the Global Substance Registration System of the FDA. So first you get listed, then you get a UNI, and then you can actually be entered under Ingredients and Appearance for product information for an over-the-counter product. What's the problem here? The FDA has never heard of Tonicity Solution, trademark or not. Therefore, it doesn't have a UNI. No UNI, no entry. And this is what it looks like when you click on that link, Ingredients and Appearance. For Pro, you have glycerin and water. And you can see the Unicodes right there. And for light, glycerin and water. No Tonicity Solution. Nothing biologic about this at all. Where does this leave us? Oh, before we go to where it leaves us, I have to have a sidebar. Hey, FDA, shouldn't these match? I really don't think an unscrupulous drug manufacturer who's pretending to be over the counter should be able to do that. By entering free text things under active ingredient and inactive ingredient, which people see when they go directly to the DailyMed listing, and then burying the actual ingredients in a hyperlink at the very bottom, requiring you to scroll down. Now, as many of you might already suspect, I am indeed the person who reads the methods, the footnotes, and I scroll down. So there you are. Under the formal official ingredients and appearance list, nothing but glycerin and water. And note also, no preservative, so at least they're honest about that. We have a couple of options then, getting back to that statement. Option number 1, Regener-Eyes is lying to patients. The bottle contains glycerin and sterile water and nothing else. In that case, it complies with regulations on over-the-counter dry eye drop ingredients, and it is the most expensive glycerin eye drop ever. It still does not comply with regulations on prevention of contamination, so it's still not a lawful over-the-counter product. This is a real conversation that Rebecca and I had while I was driving back from the beach. Can we use a curse word? This was really Rebecca's idea. She said, so is this stuff glycerin, water, and bullshit? Trademarked? I said, if it's bullshit and if it has a uni, Regener-Eyes may be in compliance. I got home, I checked. She said, and? I said, no. Let me try it again without the hyphen. Still nothing. Rebecca said, no further questions. Here's your graphic. Over-the-counter regulation compliant, big red X. Regener-Eyes Pro, Regener-Eyes Light are not over-the-counter regulation compliant. Whether or not they actually contain Tonicity Solution, they're not compliant. You shouldn't buy them. Well, second option is that Regener-Eyes is lying to the Food and Drug Administration. The bottle contains glycerin and sterile water and the mysterious Tonicity Solution. One would presume that Tonicity Solution is actually secretly DMAPS. They had to get rid of that pesky P for protein in the acronym. Therefore, Regener-Eyes does indeed still contain proteins from strangers, in which case we're right back to the not FDA-approved biologic ophthalmic drug. So time to duck down into one mole hole and see if you can come up out of another mole hole. But you can't come up out of the over-the-counter hole or out of the prescription biologic hole. So Regener-Eyes, I'll be very interested to see how you try to solve this one. Because frankly, the FDA has no idea what's in that bottle, despite our many requests for them to find out. But maybe one of these days, they will ask. FDA approval? No. Regener-Eyes Pro, Regener-Eyes Light are not FDA approved. No mole holes left. No FDA approval, and not over-the-counter regulation compliant. Rebecca always likes to have a good graphic to do the social media promotion, so this is it. Oh, I have to talk about the latest box art on DailyMed because they did update that as well. And they say that each product is created using 100% natural, patented, proprietary-formulated ingredients. Well, glycerin is none of the above. Sterile water, I guess we'll give them natural, but I think it's pretty tough to imagine that it's patented. And I was a chemistry major in college, so this got me wondering, where does glycerin come from? It turns out that glycerin is a byproduct of biodiesel production. So if someone's making biodiesel, glycerin sludges out the side. It's a ratio of about 1 to 10. You then have to take that stuff and clean it up a whole lot through many steps until at the other side you get pharmaceutical-grade glycerin. And biodiesel is made from a wide range of oils, including recycled cooking oil and animal fats. So Snail observes, no wonder it takes so many unnatural processes to produce pharma-grade glycerin. Had another chuckle about that whole natural idea. And getting back to the Scientific Advisory Board, this is another mole hole that we whacked recently. The following individuals shown as members of the Scientific Advisory Board have advised me that they had no awareness that their likenesses and scientific reputations were being unlawfully used. Ashley Seifert, who is no longer shown, and I respect and admire Dr. Seifert for taking immediate action on this point, and Malcolm Maiden. And I am waiting to hear back from a few other people. I might give them a little bit of a prod. But take a look at the scientific advisory board yourself and just consider those photos, because lots of those photos look like they were screenshotted from something long, long ago. And it really makes you wonder if those individuals, the majority of whom are in places like China, actually realize that they're on this list. I suspect not. Be smart. Believe real scientists. Dry eye disease has nothing to do with breast cancer, but somehow DMAPs can be useful in breast cancer. And who says this? Well, Dr. Carl Randall Harrell. And I guess this is the place to apologize, because Dr. Seifert was pronouncing Dr. Harrell's name Harrell, and I've been saying Harrell. Stay tuned for Las Vegas excitement.